Hi guys, in this video I want to focus on photos that are not in focus. Make sense? Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Steve Gerrard and today I want to talk about pictures that are not in focus. And as photographers, we're always told that if a picture is not in focus, then it's no good and it's a mistake by the photographer or it's a mistake by the gear. And I want to talk about two pictures that I absolutely love, both of which are out of focus. Now, usually if you take a photo and it's not in focus, it's probably going to be no good, but there are exceptions to that rule. There are some photographers that take pictures deliberately out of focus and they can look absolutely amazing. Pictures that are taken deliberately out of focus are actually pretty difficult to get right, but when they're done well, they can be really creative and artistic, and there's a sense of mystery and atmosphere about them that I absolutely love. But today I'm not talking about pictures that are deliberately out of focus. I'm talking about pictures which are technically a mistake but still work really well. And I'm going to talk about one of my pictures that I've taken and one that's taken by a legendary photographer, and it's a picture that you may well recognize. So first up, let's talk about a picture that I took, which is of a band that I absolutely love seeing live and I love shooting, and they are called the Bronx. They're not from the Bronx, they're from LA, but if you've ever seen them live, you will know what I'm talking about. The gigs are just so much fun, just pure rock and roll energy. And the photo that I want to talk about is from a gig that I shot with the Bronx in Wolverhampton back in the UK, and it is this one. So what you're seeing in this picture is Matt, who is the lead singer of the Bronx. He decided he was going to go into the crowd, which he quite often does at Bronx gigs. And I was still in the photo pit, the area between the crowd and the stage, and he'd gone into the crowd. So I just turned around, jumped up onto the barrier and shot down over the top of the crowd while he was marching around in amongst all the fans. There must have been a really peak moment during this song, because what I love about this picture is just the energy of the shot and the expressions, not just on Matt, but on all the fans around him. Like, everybody seems to be just completely lost in that moment. I love the fact that there's a guy just behind him wearing the Bronx shirt, so that kind of ties it all together. Even though there's a ton of people and it's a really crowded space, Matt is still the main subject of the frame and really stands out. But if you look around the frame at the other fans, every single person just seems to be really, really involved in that moment. And that is why I love this picture so much. And apparently the band love this picture too. They bought it for use on their website. And I've also had Bronx fans get in touch with me about buying prints of this. So it definitely works as a photo, but if you zoom in, you will see that it is not in focus. The singer is the main part of the frame, but he is not actually in focus. It's the people that are just behind him that are in focus. But does it matter? Well, I guess if Matt was in focus, it probably would be slightly better in my eyes. But the fact that he's not in focus doesn't, for me, mean that this is a bad photo, because what makes a great photo is the feeling you get when you look at the photo and how it tells a story. And I feel that this photo definitely works on both of those levels. Now, speaking of pictures that tell a story and also create some kind of emotion, the next picture that I want to talk about is by a photographer called Pennie Smith. She's a bit of a legendary music photographer, and she took a picture which was voted the best rock and roll photograph of all time. And it's out of focus. If you're not familiar with Pennie Smith, she is more of a documentary music photographer, but she's done a lot of portraits and live work as well. And she used to work for the NME and I think Q Magazine and a few others. But in 1979, she was on tour with The Clash in America. And there's actually a book that I have here, which has got a ton of her photos in, which are pretty amazing. But the picture that I want to speak about is this one. Many of you will know this picture, and you might know that it's the cover of the Clash album London Calling, and it was voted the best rock and roll photograph of all time, and I think there's a good reason for that. And the interesting thing is that this photograph nearly never happened because Pennie had been on tour with the Clash. She'd taken a lot of pictures live of them already on tour, and this was from a New York show at the Palladium in 1979, and she nearly never went to that gig because she felt like she already had enough live shots. But she did go to the gig, and apparently she only took about 3 photos, and this was one of them. So this picture is taken from the side of the stage, and it is of Paul Simonon, who is the bass player from the Clash. And apparently he got pretty annoyed with the crowd that night, who weren't really responding as well as most crowds do to the Clash's music. I think it was a seated venue, and although he's usually a pretty kind of calm character, he just got a bit wound up that they weren't getting much of a reaction, and he took it out on his bass guitar. Luckily, Pennie Smith was ready for the moment at the side of the stage with a camera and a wide angle lens, and she managed to get this shot. And even though it's not technically perfect and it is out of focus, does it matter? Do we care whether that was in focus or not? Would it even be as strong if it was in focus? Because there's just so much energy in this picture, and it's just the perfect moment with his legs apart, the guitar in the air, and it just reeks of rock and roll. And apparently when the Clash were going through photos trying to choose an image for their next album cover, which was going to be London Calling, Joe Strummer instantly chose this one as soon as he saw it. But Pennie actually tried to talk him out of it because she didn't think it'd look very good when it was blown up onto posters, and she realized that it was out of focus, so she tried to get him to pick another one. But Joe Strummer was convinced that was the shot, and as they say, the rest is history. Now, this is one photograph that I would love to have framed on the wall in this studio, but I don't have £4,000 spare. So if anybody wants to donate £4,000 to my cause, or just buy me the picture straight off, then I'll put a link in the description below. So I think the lesson here is, if your picture is out of focus, maybe think twice before you get rid of it. Does it capture some kind of energy, some kind of emotion, and does it tell a story? If it's not technically perfect, but it does do those things, then I would say consider keeping it. Thanks a lot for watching the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff, and we will see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.